Hi and welcome to Yoga Berry, your yoga for scoliosis community, and welcome to this morning practice. All that you will need for the practice this morning is a yoga block. If you don't have one, don't worry, you can still do the practice. My name is Christine Berry, and you can find out all about the community and my online and offline courses in the description below. Let's get started. We are going to start in all fours, so let's bring the hands directly underneath the shoulders, the knees hip distance apart, and we're just going to start to rock backwards and forwards. So just bringing a little bit of weight into the hands and then taking the weight back and the hips towards the heels. So just rocking backwards and forwards. Good, and then let's bring the hands a little bit further forwards. So keep rocking backwards and forwards. And every time you come forwards, let's broaden the chest, lifting the head slightly, and then take the hips back towards the heels. Good. Keep going, just starting to bring some movement into the body. And if this feels good, maybe you bring the hips a little bit further forwards. Maybe you take the hips a little bit further back, but let's keep it moving. Good. And then let's come back to center. Good. So let's come into a little bit more traditional cat-cow pose. If you have a fused spine, then make sure you check out my video about cat-cow and spinal fusion. Otherwise, lifting up through the chest, lifting the head, and then exhale, rounding through the spine. So if the rounding doesn't work for you, if the arching doesn't work for you, then maybe just visualize that little bit of movement and that releasing of the muscles. If you don't have spinal fusion, then go for it. See if you can wake up the spine a little bit more. So if we're trying to move every single part of the body. Good. Last one. And then let's come back to center. We're going to tuck the toes under. We're going to come into extended puppy pose. So bring the hips halfway between the knees and the heels, and then we're going to start to bring the hands forward. So lengthening through the whole body. That's it. And rather than collapsing the chest down, can you lift the chest slightly? And imagine you're being pulled in opposite directions. Good, and if you know your curvature, if you know what you're working with, you can make these little adjustments, maybe taking one side of the hips further back. If you have been watching my videos, you will know what I'm talking about. If you don't worry, stay with the practice. The lengthening is still beneficial. Good. And then let's come back into normal all fours position. We're going to take this into downward dog. So we've already created that lovely length in the extended puppy pose. See if you can keep that in your downward dog. So tuck your toes under, send the hips up towards the ceiling, and we are just warming up, so the legs might feel tight. So maybe bending and straightening one leg, just walking through the dog, making any movements that feel good. If downward dog doesn't feel good for you, you can stay in that extended puppy pose. Good. And then let's come down. Let's rest in child's pose for a moment. Bring your knees wide, feet together, reaching the arms forwards or supporting the forehead. Whatever feels more comfortable for you. Good, and then slowly bringing yourself back up. Good, so we're going to put these movements together now in a little flow, in a little vinyasa, we call it in yoga. Very gentle one. So we're going to rock forwards, broaden the chest, tuck the toes under, come into downward dog, come forwards into plank, bring the knees down, and then take it towards a child's pose. So let's do this again. We're coming forwards, broadening the chest, slightly looking up, tuck the toes under, come back into downward dog. Coming forwards into your plank, knees down, and then towards a child's pose. Good, and again, last time. So rocking forwards, broaden the chest, tuck the toes under, come into downward dog. Rocking forwards into plank, bring the knees down, and then coming back into child's pose. Let's come all the way back. Let's take a little rest here. You can either reach the arms forwards to more of an active stretch, or bring the arms alongside the body, or support the forehead. Whatever feels best for you right now. Good, one more breath. And then let's come back up into all fours. So you can stay with this previous version, or if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, we're going to add a side plank variation. And we're not going to do the full side plank as the one that Dr. Lauren Fishman teaches. And if you want to know more about his method, I have a full playlist about these videos. We're going to do a different variation. So we're going to bring the knee into the center, left hand into the center, and we come to the inner edge of the foot and then reaching the arm up. So we're keeping the knee down. We're not going to stay here. So we're just taking one breath and then exhale, bring the hand back down and over to the other side. So knee into the center, hand into the center, come to the inner edge of the foot, reach the opposite arm up and then release. Good. Let's try this one more time. So left knee, left hand down. Come to the inner edge of the right foot. Reaching the right arm up. Exhale to lower. Over to the other side. Right knee is down. Inner edge of the left foot. Reaching the left arm up. Good. And then bring it down. Good. Let's put these movements all together. So with your downward dog and your plank. Coming forwards, broadening the chest. Tuck the toes under. Let's come into downward dog. Inhale, coming forwards into plank. And then bring your knees down. Left knee down, left hand down. Inner edge of the right foot. Reaching up with the right arm. One breath. Exhale to lower. Over to the other side. Inner edge of the left foot. Inhale to reach up. And then exhale to lower. Good. And then let's come into child's pose. Good. Slowly bringing yourself up into sitting. Good. So this is quite a nice movement sequence which you can practice. You can obviously repeat this more if you have a little bit more time, but we're going to come to lying down on the back to do a little bit of strengthening. Good, so have your block close by. And then let's bring the knees in towards the chest for a moment, just rocking from side to side. Giving yourself a well-deserved hug here. Already done good amount of work with the body. And then bring the feet down. Bring the block to the inner thighs. And then have the feet a little bit closer together so that the feet are about the same width as your block. If you don't have the block, you can squeeze the legs together as well. But it's a little bit easier if you have something that you can actually squeeze rather than your own legs. So we're going to do bridge pose, but with a little bit more stability. So squeezing the inner thighs into the block. Lift the hips off the ground. Take an inhale. And then exhale to lower. Good, let's do this again. Squeeze the inner thighs into the block first. Lift the hips. Inhale. And exhale. Good. Let's do that again. Squeezing. Lift. Inhale and exhale to lower. Good. So just in your own time, just repeat a few times. And notice that you will not be able to lift the hips as high as if you were doing this without the block. And what we're doing is we're strengthening the whole of the lower body, which is what we will need for the day ahead of us. Good, let's release. And then we're going to come into tabletop position. So keep the block where it is. If you are using it, don't worry if you don't have a block. You can do this without. Flex your feet. And the knees are directly on top of the hips. Good, so this is called tabletop position. And you might feel that your abdominal muscles are starting to engage already. Squeeze the inner thighs into the block. We're just going to hold it here. And can you consciously relax the shoulders, relax the neck, relax the face, relax the jaw. This is difficult, but it's just the lower body that is working. We're isolating this movement. Or not movement, we're now holding it, but you will definitely feel the work here. Good, let's take another breath. Good, and then slowly release. Just put the block to the side. Bring the knees in towards the chest. Let's rock from side to side here. Bring the feet flat on the ground. Move the legs from side to side, just like a windscreen wiper. Good. And then extend your legs. And just for a minute or so, we're just going to allow for the body to rest, to absorb all the benefits of the practice. Allowing for the legs to be heavy, the hips to be heavy, the upper body, the neck, back of the head, just dropping into the ground. And then slowly bend your knees, roll yourself over to the side and slowly coming back up into sitting. So I hope you enjoyed this practice. If you have a little bit more time, you might want to check out this core video here, which is a great one as well if you want a little bit more strengthening. Let me know how it goes and I'll see you very soon for the next video.